I'm joined by my amazing friend, Cameal Harris, and we are talking about AI in the workplace and people because she is truly a people person. Cameal, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic.
I love it. I love it. Now, you are doing something pretty interesting when it comes to AI integration into the workplace and keeping people first. Because I think there's a lot of stigma and fear behind, oh my gosh, AI is going to replace my job. So, can you talk a little bit about what you're doing when it comes to AI in the workplace?
Sure. Thank you, Alyssa. The thing is, I want to start off by saying to people that AI will never replace us. Yes, AI might be able to do some tasks very well, but AI cannot influence and AI will never be able to lead. So let's start with that. The second thing I want to say and remind people, AI is a tool and it's not going anywhere, and we have to embrace it. For example, for me and how I'm using AI to really drive change and drive culture in the organization is I am a practitioner, right? And a lot of the work that I do is around companies going through mergers or demergers or technology transformation. And naturally, when you're dealing with things like this, is people are going to naturally resist because that's what we do. We sometimes
Right.
resist. Changes can be hard, and most of us doesn't like to break out of our day-to-day routine. As a practitioner, I don't just come in and have a 2 hour workshop and walk away. I look at this as you would look at the organization as the organization is sick. Just like how you're sick and you go to a practitioner, a doctor, and they send you to do labs, I do similar things. So what I do, I analyze and I gather data and I use AI to interpret that data. And what the AI does, it can tell me by department who is feeling burnout. I can predict behaviors months in advance. I can mitigate risk. And think about it like this. I'm not only seeing and measuring risk by, the organization as a whole. I am looking at department by department and it's all anonymous. But what AI does, it enables me to take this data and I'm basically using mathematics to really help to drive positive workplace culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hearing that because, like you're saying, AI is really a tool, an assistive tool to help us. And there's so many ways we can incorporate it into the workflow and into the workplace. Let's talk about how you've been able to really use it as a form of workplace health and safety. Like you're saying, I think this is really fascinating. I want to dive into this topic a little bit more. When you're talking about predictive behaviors, can you expand on this a little bit more?
Sure. So we send out, I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but it's it's a think about it. Like I use a mixed method approach, and within a mixed method, I use a quantitative and a qualitative measure. So quantitative, I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at survey feedback, looking at whatever I can be able to pull that data from. AI, then we have a tool that is able to analyze this data all the way down because it depends on where you sit in the organization. You're going to feel the blunt of the stress or the resistance. For example, like middle managers are expected to do so much, but they're taking that you say, things directive or things coming down from leadership, and then they have to, dish it out to the frontline employees. So I am able to see like where is the resistance, where are those pockets of distrust, where's those pockets of where we can see individuals that are not feeling safe within the organization. This is very important, this data gathering, because what I'm seeing is that employee disengagement has become an epidemic. There's so much data to back this, and it's getting worse and worse every year, according to the Gallup poll. So recent on the recent 2026 Gallup poll data, when it comes to employee engagement, it shows that only 20% of the world employees are engaged at work. And that's roughly around $10 trillion being lost from lack of productivity. That is almost 10%, 9 to 10% of the global GDP. That is a big problem. And what leaders are looking at employees as a cost instead of looking at employees as something that is your highest ROI, your highest return on your investment. So that's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is really using AI as a tool to unearth certain things that we could naturally see. Think of it
So,
as the nervous system of the
of
organization.
course, yeah. So let's talk about this. Now, you say that only 20% of employees are engaged. What are some common themes among workplaces that's causing this disengagement based off of the research you've come across?
Sure. Well, everything that we do is tied back to human emotions and our need to feel belonging and to feel like we're adding value. With all the recent changes happening all over globally, even in the United States alone, this is taking a toll on people. People are going through change fatigue. So that is constant changes. Companies are shutting down, companies are merging, people are not sure where they sit in the organization. We see there was a trend going around, I think it was right after COVID, which they call quiet quitting. But
Yes.
what we're seeing now is in the research is something a little bit different. So quiet quitting was people are just at work going by, but they're disengaged, just completely shut down. We're seeing something now a little bit more alarming. Well, a lot more alarming. People aren't just quiet quitting. They are not okay. People are depressed, they are stressed, but they can't leave their job because the economy is not at a place where they are sure they're going to get something else. Like, think of all the people that have been out of employment within the last year, all those people that have been let go. So what naturally is going to happen? People are going to buckle down. We spend 40 hours the least at work, and a lot of the stress that we carry comes from that work environment. But think about it. Say there is a family and a dad that's going out there and extremely stressed at work. He spent 8 hours. Sometimes he has to work overtime and he comes home. What's going to naturally happen? He's going to be a little bit moody, and it might create other problems, such as more arguments in the home, broken homes, all of that. So this thing, when it comes to creating safe organizational culture, it is very important. It is so important that it's not just, I don't want people to think of this as, oh, it's a corporate thing. It's a social thing. It's a community thing. And I am on a mission to really bridge that gap and to create safe workplace.
Absolutely. Now, you talk about, or you have this RIDIER method. Can we talk about what that means? It's an acronym, but can you break down what you've come up with RIDIER?
Sure. So RIDIER, I came up with RIDIER because RIDIER is an end-to-end process of how organizations should go through changes. The reason why I came up with the methodology is I saw a gap in the practice. So what I do when others I do what I do, we call ourselves organizational change management practitioner or organizational change management consultant or expert. There was a lot of box checking going on. There was a lot of misunderstanding of the work that we do. A lot of companies were looking at us as just trainers or doing communication, but it's so much more. What we do is truly that behavior change and that human side of it. So RIDIER is the acronym, which is like the end-to-end aspect of it. And we start all the way from R, which is for the research, where we research the business need for this change. We investigate, we look at our stakeholder analysis, we look at the different risks that might be involved. We come up with mitigation. We have discover, where we now put together that strategy. Then we have implement, is where the boots hit the ground. And these are all the activities that you should be doing to really get people on board. So this is where we actively are implementing, and engage, which is our communication and our training. And of course, we have R for reinforce and sustain. I want to say this, that RIDIER is also accredited or approved by the Association of Change Management Professional. So I am able to, if anyone is interested in doing this field, a lot of people haven't heard about it, but I'm able to certify individuals under the RIDIER methodology, and they will become a certified change management practitioner, CCMP.
So, through this methodology, one of the things that I think sticks out to me is you've worked with so many different clients. When you leave them,
Mhm.
how likely are they able to sustain the practice? How many times have you gone back and done check ins to really ensure that corporations are creating a healthy workplace that does increase, instead of 20% of people being engaged, but does increase that number to even, let's say it moves the needle up 10%? What are we looking at here?
I love that you asked that question. So let's look at the R in RIDIER, which is our reinforcement. So when we look at our reinforcement, what I do, and I say we because there's a team that I work with. What we do is we truly try to measure the resistance as we go along. We don't just wait until we get to the end of the project to truly measure that. And I set different benchmarks that I will go in even long after and ensure that, things are going on track. We ensure that we are looking at all the highlights, all the wins, celebrate success, bring people along on the journey, ensure that people have resources at their fingertips. And these are things that I create for organization. But when we shift gears a little bit, that is for my longer term clients. And mind you, I've worked with people, industry like PepsiCo, Unilever, Vitamix, to name a few. So when I'm looking at like my culture diagnostic in specific, yes, it's a one-time workshop, but I don't just leave the organization. Similar, like I mentioned again, when an organization is sick, the organization is sick. Just like when you go to the doctor, you do the diagnosis, we co-create together. Leaders and I co-create. After I take all that data that AI gave me, we do a workshop, we co-create, and I give them a care plan. So in this care plan, it's going to be like a 60, 30, 90 day, and it's going to be a plan that's to help with that sustainment. I am there the entire way. I'm holding their hands. I'm there through hypercare and just ensuring that the things that I have shown them or the recommendations that I've made are being implemented. The thing is, Alyssa, I say creating a healthy organizational culture is not just a mission for me. It is actually a ministry. This is something I deeply care about. So for me to ensure that sustainability is really happening in the organization, bottom line, I will do whatever it takes. And I'm going to go along that journey with my clients because it's personal to me.
Absolutely. Now, Camille, how can people find out a little bit more about what you're doing in the workplace if they're interested in booking your services? How can people find you?
Sure. Well, I am on all platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I also have a website, Cameal Harris, and you might notice my name is spelled a little different. So it's CAMEALHARRIS.com. You can always reach out to me. You can also go and Change Activate to look up information about my diagnostics workshop.
Now, I have one last question for you. If a workplace is unsure if they're unhealthy to begin with, what are some telltale signs that they can look for to determine if they need this type of service?
Yes. I always say that it's not when people are making a lot of noise you should be worried, is when they got become quiet. People are disengaged, they call up more, they use more sick days. Your retention rates are just not the best. You have a lot of turnover happening. There's drop in productivity. Employee that was motivated and excited all of a sudden seem really gloomy. It's just pay attention to your people. And the thing is, you don't want it to get to a place where your productivity and it's costing you money. So before it gets to that place, pay attention to those early warning signs.
Absolutely. I love it. Thanks so much for joining me today, Camille. I so appreciate it, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.
All right. Thank you.